here's what I want to tell you. Magic is all around us, and it's not just what's in the movies. Magic is in our everyday lives, and you might not know it or think about it, but I guarantee you it is. And if you stay with me, I'll give you some examples. So first off, I wanted to define what is magic. Some people think it is causing change in the world through the application of your will, or changing other people's consciousness through your will. There are many different definitions, which I will maybe show in this video. But the basic idea is that you are going to manifest your will through the application of concentration or focus. So it's not about like some sort of like mystical magic, you know, with like colorful sparks coming out of a wand or something like that. What it really was, it was basically self-help. It was a self-help path or self-help philosophy and form of psychology in folk knowledge-making pathways. So what it is, when you focus on something, right, and you're basically kind of giving your intent a focus, right, and you are focusing your willpower, and you are focusing kind of the seriousness in which you will undertake such a thing. So I want to tell you that, you know, we see magic all around us every day. For example, a BMW, right? You know, the symbol, or maybe a Mercedes, right? These are a form of sigils, right? They are magical in that they will change your consciousness. When you look at them, you feel, oh wow, it's fancy. It's represents success, right? These are sigils. They change your consciousness when you look at them, right? So brand marks are a form of magic. Okay? Think about like when you wear certain clothing or certain suits, right? That is also, a suit is a form of symbolic magic, because when you look at it, you take a person more seriously than if they were, you know, in their underwear and socks, or if they are wearing just a t-shirt and shorts, right? You know, you take a banker and you put him in shorts, you're probably not going to let him, you know, play with your millions of dollars, but if he's wearing a nice suit, you do, right? And it's through this associations that we focus intent or seriousness, right? Or make it more meaningful. And think of national anthems. They are literally spells. They are enchantments, right? Enchantments means to give something some sort of, you know, magical significance, right? Or to make them special. A national anthem, once sung, will create a state of consciousness in a person, a feeling of pride and willing to maybe sacrifice for their nation. Right? That's a form of, like a spoken form of magic or spell. All right? And, I mean, think about also, you know, like we have all this jargon and certain, you know, business speak, right? You know, special words and jargon, circle back or touch base and all that. I would argue that these are also enchanting phrases or words, right? That try to invoke a certain state of mind, to bring an invocation spell, right? Which means to bring forth into your mind a certain state of consciousness. To continue, prayers to whether you're Christian, Jewish, or Islamic, these are all forms of basically spells. You could call them a form of evoking, right? Calling upon an entity into the world to give you what you want, or to help you obtain a certain reality that you want. This is a form of modern day evocation. And again, I want to go back to like sigils or magical symbols that focus intent or reminders for you to keep on your path. So, for example, the cross or the Star of David or, all religions have various, symbols. And I would argue those are sigilized forms of magic to focus your intention. Perhaps you have heard of, there's another form of magic where we use certain gestures. This is called a mudra. And if you think of, Christianity, where they make the cross, I'm not exactly sure how they do it, but they make a cross with their gestures. This is a form of a mudra, right? A magical gesture that's supposed to create a certain form of consciousness. Now, when I always say this, creating a form of consciousness, what this is doing is this is reminding you to seek what you want to obtain, right? This is reminding you, like a mnemonic reminder for you to follow what you think is important, right? So again, it's not like blue sparks coming out of a wand, right? These symbols or spells or jargon or even gestures are all about reminding you to focus on what you want to get, whether it be, like a fancy job or education or, just something you romance, something you desire in life. When you think about these things, either in a form of a sigil, an invocation, an evocation, all these different types of ways of going about it, they're just trying to make it more, this is something you want. This is something that you are making sacred or important, right? It has significance. So these things remind you to keep on that path, right? It's a way of knowing yourself and seeking what you want in kind of like a folk wisdom, folk psychological way. One thing these things all depend upon is trance states, okay? What is a trance state? A trance state is an altered form of consciousness, right? Throughout the day, we experience many different types of trances, right? Whether, when you're bored and you just kind of gaze off into the distance, or you look out that window, that's an altered state of consciousness. That is a form of trance. When you are falling asleep or just waking up, right? This is called hypnagogia, right? You are in a hypnagogic trance, right? Between waking and sleep. Right? And we experience trances. We experience trances constantly throughout the day. And, sleep is an altered form of consciousness as well. So it's interesting because we see, meditation and trance throughout the world, okay? Every different culture does it. And you're probably wondering, what is the point of all this, right? The point is to remove language, right? Because language essentially fractures the universe into multiple things, right? If I call myself Rory, then I am now separate from everything else, If you have for example, a pen here, right? If you say this is the button and this is the ink, and this is the clip, right? And this is the grip, right? I've taken something that was one thing and I've fractured it into multiples. So the question is, how do we get back to a monistic whole way of life or of thinking or state of consciousness? And the way we do that is through different forms of trance, right? It's the way we peek behind the curtain to maybe see something more mystical. Now, different cultures all around the world have had different ways to access this, what they call accessing the divine or the monastic whole. Could be Zen Buddhism, where they meditate, and in a lot of Buddhistic ways, traditions, they will, repeat certain phrases again and again and again until they forget the meaning of it, and it's just a sound, right? Whether it be Om or various other mantras that they have. they forget the words, and it's just the sound, and then they forget all other things, and they enter a trance. The Plains Native Americans will and have also done, various like the hook rituals where they would do suspensions, where they'd hang their bodies, and the pain would take them out into a trance. In South America, they would ingest various hallucinogens to enter a trance. In Africa, various tribal traditions would engage in repetitive drumming. This would cause you to enter a trance. Okay? So, if we go back up to in the Middle East, if we have the mystical form of Islam, which was Sufism, they would have these methods to enter. They do still have these methods of entering trance where they spin around and around and around and around to music until they have a mystical experience, right? And these mystical experiences, like what could you call them? On one hand, you could say, for the true believers, you are, commiserating with the divine. You are accessing a certain God or divine being. Now, that may be true. I don't know. The scientist might think that, you are just accessing a deeper part of your subconscious. And perhaps you're able to maybe think more clearly, think of a way to get to your goal, or you could find your true desires that way. But either or, it doesn't matter, even if you take the mystical explanation or the scientific explanation. The point is, these entrance states work. They provide real psychological benefit. They help you benefit your life by focusing on what you want and what you really want deep inside yourself and moving towards that goal, right? So I would say magic is absolutely real, and it's about personal transformation. It's about creating change in your life through the accessing of your inner self. And there is a variety of different tools to access that self. And then there is a variety of tools that help you keep you on your path and keep you focused on those things, whether they're symbols, mantras, sigils, a type of symbol, or whether they're focused meditations, right? Whether they're invocations, invocations, right? Whether they're talismans, things you wear to remind you of certain things or to protect you. These are all things to remind you to stay on your path, to keep focus on what you really want. And maybe they do have a divine significance too. So to wrap this up, and I guess this is getting a little long, but to wrap this up, what is magic? Magic is a way to create change in the world. It's a way to create change in yourself. It's a way to focus on what you want, your intent. It's a way to perhaps create change in other people's thinking about you. And it's a way to access your deeper self and gain self-knowledge and perhaps self-mastery. I really hope that you stay with me on this adventure